The NDAs tend to be seen, or can be seen, as paying off or silencing harassment victims. And as Jerry's concern is, and the concern from the outside is, that if you are wealthy and you have enough money, you can benefit from the law to the detriment of the victims that you've caused problems for.
That's very much the perception. In fact, NDAs have developed over a period of time, and to work for the executive in this instance, or a company, they have to comply with certain rules. And one of those rules is if something serious has happened, you are still entitled to go to the police, for example, and that was accepted in the judgment in the Court of Appeal the other day. And also, you get must have independent legal advice from people who know what they're talking about. They're largely used in employment disputes and the termination of employment disputes. They have been found to work extremely well for the benefit of both sides. And, of course, substantial cash payments are paid to the benefit of, it will describe them as a victim, the complainant, and it means they don't have to go through any further pain because they've won, and they've won early.
I think the thing is that, you know, we automatically think there's something murky going on, don't we, when we hear this term used, that somebody's trying to hush something up. But that's not always the case, then.
Well, they are trying to hush something up. That's the point of them. But Duncan is actually right. I mean, if it is sexual harassment we've been talking about, that's a criminal offence, and that will make that agreement completely null and void. If two people decide of their own free will, without any pressure whatsoever, there's nothing wrong with that at all. So when politicians start getting involved and they press the little red button which says, we must do something, you get worried. I think the big problem is actually the super injunctions and the anonymised injunctions we've been talking about, because there is an apartheid in this country for the law. If you're very rich and powerful, you can protect your reputation. If you're anybody else, you can't. That, to me, is wrong. Is anything going to happen? Of course not. And then the next problem is, who is actually going to decide the law of privacy? This is the big problem. Privacy on the one hand, freedom of the press on the other. We believe in both. But a balance has to be drawn. Parliament is far too scared to do it. They've all got skeletons because they've lived full lives. You can't blame them. And they're terrified of what the Daily Mail is going to say. So what's going to happen? Nothing.
So that's the awful thing here, Duncan, is that we're sitting in a situation where even legal experts are saying there is a two-tiered system here, and yet no one will do anything to sort it out.
Well, the courts have been actively sorting it out for 15 years. Now, I accept that the law is expensive, but what one has here, this isn't a kiss and tell, and someone's trying to stop a kiss and tell, which is a much more obvious Article 10 freedom of expression point. This is someone who's saying, I've entered into contractual agreements, and the complainants, several of them, do not want to be named and do not want to be any part of this, and they're happy, two of them have specifically said that to the court, for this not to be ever being made public. So it's a complicated one, and it's about enforcing contractual agreements between two independent, legally advised parties. So it's not the obvious one. As I said, it's not someone, a victim saying, I want to tell the world. These are people who've actively decided, for whatever reason, not to tell the world, and that may be that, as has been stated, the allegations are not serious enough, serious to the individuals concerned, we all accept that, but to generate the sort of coverage. But it's because there's 5, that seems to be enough for a story. And there's a slight element, has the media not learnt from the experience of Cliff Richard? They piled in, named someone who was innocent, destroyed his career, and the court here said, wait a second, it's not just about the one claimant, there's 2 businesses who could go under if this all gets out early, but there's going to be an expedited trial. We will learn all about this in a couple of months.
On the flip side, though, there are those people who are saying, hold on a second, if Harvey Weinstein had been here, would we have found out about him with the legal system that we have in place?
Well, we would have done. That's why these things are a complete load of nonsense. And you make a lot of money because you do a very good job. But at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is prevent the cat getting out of the bag. Well, the cat always gets out of the bag because it comes on foreign media, which is not subject to the jurisdiction, or like Guido Fawkes got a website that's based in Ireland. Therefore, that's where it's published. Simple, straightforward as that. So you're delaying the inevitable, which is going to happen. We all know these various people. We all know who they are. The general public doesn't. But that really, to me, is wrong. And I think these guys are wasting their money.
I mean, and that's an interesting point as well, because it tends to happen, as Joe was saying, eventually it's going to come out.
That's actually not correct. I know that's the perception.
That is the perception, absolutely.
But it's not accurate because, again, having been involved in what were called super injunctions, but these big injunctions, more often than not, it never comes out because the media knows it can't do the story, doesn't want to give a free story to Ireland or Europe. And unfortunately, a lot of innocent people find their names dragged into all of this because people speculate on social media with no knowledge, and so real harm can be done. The important point here, I think, is the court has said this must be dealt with, and it must be dealt with soon. This isn't going to go on forever. We will find out early in the new year, and I'm sure the Telegraph will be appealing anyway, but the expedited trial will be taking place. So it's not quite as bad as it seems. The perception is, oh, this is... we're being deprived as members of the public of what's really going on, and we will find out soon enough one way or another.
But don't you think it's wrong? And I know it's difficult for two lawyers to talk about morality, for heaven's sake, on live TV. Let's be honest about it. But don't you think it's wrong that the ordinary person has not got the right to protect their reputation? They can afterwards, if they can afford a libel lawyer's fee, or they can go to various press council bodies, IPSO, I think is the latest one. But it can't be right. It is a two-tier system.
That this is only for the preserve of the rich, because no one else will be able to afford the legal
We couldn't
fees.
afford it. None of us around this, not even you, Ben.
Not even me.
Not even
I don't
you.
know.
But the media aren't interested, I'm afraid to say, by and large, in the poor. But these injunctions are often used to protect, for example, hospital victims, people who are granted anonymity because they're the victims of serious criminal assault. Or on a daily basis, the NHS gets these injunctions to protect people undergoing terrible surgeries where there's disputes between the family as to what should happen. So the injunctions themselves sort of aren't the problem, but what one
Well,
has here
according to
is an
Theresa May,
individual
they do
being
have to be
produced.
looked at for being unethical.
Well,
in certain
yes,
cases.
but that was the Prime Minister's question time. And sanity sort of tends to leave the room. There will be a review, no doubt, which you will report on, and nothing
We will
would
wait
happen.
and see what happens as a consequence of that review in that case. And as you were saying, we'll wait and see the outcome of, what the next phase of this is legally. Thank you both very much for that, for taking us through that.